What if everything in life came with a 100% guarantee? Buying a used car would be a snap. Every frame you bowled would be a strike. And playing the lottery would get a little boring after a while. Very few things in life come with such a guarantee. But by following the proper lockout-tagout procedures while servicing or maintaining equipment, you can eliminate the hazards associated with the accidental release of stored energy 100% of the time, guaranteed. In this program, we will discuss proper lockout-tagout procedures, including the steps required to both de-energize and restore equipment to service, who needs to follow these procedures, and how to accommodate special lockout-tagout situations. The goal of proper lockout-tagout procedures is to eliminate the hazard posed by the unexpected release of energy during maintenance and service to equipment. By following the proper procedures, your safety is guaranteed, and injuries and damage to equipment will be prevented. Guaranteeing your safety begins with understanding and respecting the associated hazards, knowing the procedures to follow, as well as selecting and using the proper tools and equipment. This includes a standard, durable type of lock designated for use only during lockout. The lock must be appropriately marked and must have an approved tag with the identity of the person applying the lock in clear view. There must be only one key to the lock, kept by the person using the lock. Be sure to have the appropriate number of locks needed for each person and device. Personal locks are not allowed. To prevent injury to coworkers, only authorized, trained employees are allowed to perform lockout-tagout procedures. Any non-authorized employee, when encountering a machine or piece of equipment that is locked out or tagged out, must not try to start, energize, or use that machine or equipment. Before beginning a lockout-tagout, look for alternate means of performing the maintenance or service that may not require shutting down the equipment or machine. Planning the lockout-tagout is the key to eliminating hazards. First, notify all affected employees that service or maintenance is required on the machine, and this equipment must be shut down and locked out. Next, identify all sources of energy associated with the equipment. Be sure to check for dual or multiple sources of energy. In addition to electricity, energy sources may include air, gas, steam, gravity, or water pressure. Also take into account stored or residual energy sources, such as capacitors, springs, elevated machine members, rotating flywheels, or hydraulic systems. Many facilities have written procedures for specific pieces of equipment. These procedures are very useful in helping to familiarize you with the machine and its energy sources. Each energy source must be inspected to define where the lockout device will be installed. If a lock cannot be installed, a tag may be used without a lock. This may be done only if the person responsible for the job can demonstrate that a tag alone will provide a level of safety equal to a lock. An additional safety measure must also be provided in this situation. For example, removing an isolating circuit element or stationing a watch person at a disconnect would be considered an adequate additional safety measure. A written lockout-tagout procedure should be prepared. A lockout-tagout procedure form is useful in developing this written procedure. A typical form details the number of locks required, a list of possible energy sources, lockout locations, methods used to control energy sources, verification of the method used to control energy, and the sequence of how each lockout device must be applied. Any possible environmental hazards are also listed to enable planning for appropriate precautions to be taken. Shut down the equipment by using standard procedures, such as pressing the stop button, opening a switch, or closing a valve. Deactivate each energy isolating device, such as circuit breakers, disconnect switches, or valves, to isolate each energy source. Stored or residual energy sources must be dissipated or restrained. This may be done by grounding, repositioning, blocking, bleeding down, or other methods. Typically, chains, blocks, wedges, adapter pins, or other hardware will be supplied for this purpose. Lockout and tag each energy isolating device with the assigned individual locks. Again, this includes any residual energy sources. Each tag must be dated and signed. The equipment being controlled must be identified in the remarks section of the tag. To make certain the lockout device is effective, attempt to engage the energy isolating device. Finally, verify the effectiveness of the installed locks and tags by attempting to energize the piece of equipment or machine. Be sure no one is exposed and attempt a normal startup. This may be as simple as pushing the start button or closing a control switch. When working on electrical equipment, testing must take place to verify the equipment will not operate. Return the operating controls to the off or neutral position. The unit is now locked out and maintenance or service can begin. When work continues into the next shift, the incoming authorized person must install their locks and tags in the presence of the outgoing individual while the outgoing person removes their locks and tags. A department lock may also be used when work continues from shift to shift. Access to this lock and key is limited to authorized employees. After service or maintenance is completed, guarantee your safety by following the proper procedures when returning the equipment to normal operation. To begin, inspect the equipment and the immediate area around it to be sure tools and non-essential items have been removed. All machine guards must be in place, and the equipment's components must be operationally intact. Check the work area to ensure that all employees are safely positioned or have left the area. Make sure the operating controls are in the neutral or off position and remove the lockout devices. Re-energize the equipment. In some instances, such as when setting equipment, you may need to re-energize the machine before some forms of blocking may be safely removed. Locks and tags must be removed from an energy isolating device only by the authorized person who applied the lock and tag. Notify the affected employees that service or maintenance is completed and the equipment is ready to be restarted and placed back into operation. At times, it may be necessary to temporarily remove energy isolating devices to test or position a piece of equipment or its components. Following proper procedures is crucial to eliminating hazards. First, clear the equipment of tools and materials. Position employees safely away from the area. Remove the lockout devices. Remember, only the person who placed the locks and tags can remove them. Energize the equipment and perform the testing or positioning. Once the test is completed or the equipment is positioned correctly, de-energize all systems and reapply the locks and tags. Verify that all energy is isolated from the equipment to continue the service or maintenance. When service or maintenance is being performed by a crew, craft, department, or other group, each member of the group must have their safety guaranteed at the same level as if working alone. A designated, authorized person has the primary responsibility for the employees working under the protection of a group lockout-tagout device. This person must be able to determine the exposure status of each group member during the lockout procedure. Each authorized employee must place a personal lockout or tagout device on the group lockout device when starting work and must remove their lock or tag when stopping work on the equipment. Typically, a hasp is used for group lockout-tagout. When more than one crew or group is involved in service or maintenance, one authorized employee must be designated to coordinate overall lockout procedures to ensure each member of the group is protected. If working at a customer's site and the customer does not have an acceptable lockout procedure, follow your own company's procedures. Each customer representative must understand and comply with this procedure. When subcontractors are working within your facility, they are required to have lockout procedures that comply with all applicable regulations. While very few things in life come with a 100% guarantee, by following proper lockout-tagout procedures, you can eliminate the hazards associated with the accidental release of stored energy 100% of the time, guaranteed. Know and follow the proper lockout-tagout procedures when de-energizing equipment. First, notify all affected employees. Identify energy sources and plan a lockout-tagout procedure. Shut down the equipment. Isolate energy sources. Place lockout-tagout devices. Relieve residual energy. And verify isolation of energy sources. Know and follow proper procedures when restoring equipment to service. Inspect the equipment. Safely position employees. Remove lockout-tagout devices. And notify all affected employees. Be sure to utilize proper procedures when testing or positioning equipment, working in groups, or working at customer sites. You can prevent injuries and damage to equipment by following proper lockout-tagout procedures, and that's a 100% guarantee.